Hello. Hello. Oh. It's that time of the week again. This is ArtsLab with me, Mark Sheeky, coming to you live from Nantwich. And what an amazing show I've got for you this week. Oh, I'm sorry to say that we haven't got Heidi. Oh, Heidi is temporarily on anaesthetic. I think that's the best way to provide it. It's partly because we've got a show that's just full of other amazing stuff. I'm going to bring you some intellectual discourse from Marcel Duchamp. We'll also get some Bach and Beethoven and Telly Savalas. But while we're on the bees, we will start with the Buggles. Oh, and that's because this entire show is being videoed. There's a camera in the corner that's looking at me. It's quite disturbing, and you'll be able to see that later on YouTube. But for now, here is Video Killed the Radio Star.
Call or text the studio on 01270 262 262.
Hello, RedShift Radio.
Radio Star. Yes, that's Video Killed the Radio Star by the Buggles. That's Trevor Horn and Jeffrey Downes. And that's partly because this film, this ArtsLab, is being videoed right now.
ArtsLab on RedShift Radio with Mark Sheeky. Creativity brought to life.
Well, as I said, lots coming up. But first, it's time for this regular bit. It's local arts news. Issue 1, or Item 1, the Poetry Society's annual poetry competition is open. The National Poetry Competition. The first prize is £5,000. It's the biggest prize in modern poetry. Second prize £2,000. Third prize £1,000 and 7 commendations of £200 each, which is more than a lot of poetry competitions actually pay out. If you'd like to enter that, just visit poetrysociety.org.uk. And the Summer Fun workshops are happening at Nantwich Museum. Summer Fun is the aim of forthcoming children's workshops at Nantwich Museum. Crafts and activities include weaving, windmills, the seaside, quizzes, really slimy sea creatures. Seems to be a very seaside-based thing. Windmills, slime, and the sea all combine to make a strange and miasmic adventure for children. All workshops are drop-in at any time between 11am and 3pm on Wednesday the 3rd and 10th and Thursday the 4th and 11th of August. It costs £2 per child who must be accompanied. You can't just drop your children off and say, make a slimy windmill. Large groups are requested to book in advance. For further information, contact Nantwich Museum on inquiries at nantwichmuseum.org.uk. You can telephone 01270 627 104 or just Google Nantwich Museum. The Mac Lounge in Macclesfield. Right, remember that's a pop-up art shop that's in the Grosvenor Centre, which is like the main shopping centre in Macclesfield. Go to Macclesfield on a Thursday, a Friday or a Saturday between 11 and 4, that is in the daytime, and wander through the Mac Lounge and you'll see lots of art on display. It's a pop-up shop run by 12 artists and their summer exhibition is on until the end of August. It's a selling exhibition, it's more like an art shop, but it's an art collective run by artists, so there's lots of artwork on display, all staffed by the actual artists, and that's in Macclesfield at the moment. Meanwhile, in Warrington, the Warrington Contemporary Arts Festival is on soon. It always takes place in about August or September-y sort of time. It's launching on the 30th of September, actually, so throughout October. As usual, it shows a mix of things, really, but the highlight of it is a big exhibition at the two main venues, which are the Museum and Bank Key House, and also the Pyramid, which shows performing arts. And if you're an artist and would like to enter the Open there, you can find some information on the WCAF website. Space 1999 gently floats into the distance. Well, I found some really interesting speeches yesterday. I wanted to include some more high-quality artistic content. Well, every single bit of this programme is a high-quality artistic content, but I thought I'd found a speech by Marcel Duchamp, an artist who was really described as the epitome of the 20th century artist. He was most famous for making that urinal and just saying, this is art, because anything can be art. Well, I found this old discourse by him from 1950s or 60s, and I thought I'd play it to you. And so let's hear what Marcel Duchamp said about the creative process.
Let us consider two important factors, the two poles of the creation of art. The artist on the one hand, and on the other, the spectator, who later becomes the posterity. To all appearances, the artist acts like a mediumistic being who, from the labyrinth beyond time and space, seeks his way out to a clearing. If we give the attributes of a medium to the artist, we must then deny him the state of consciousness on the aesthetic plane about what he is doing or why he is doing it. All his decisions in the artistic execution of the work rest with pure intuition and cannot be translated into a self-analysis spoken of or written or even thought out. T.S. Eliot, in his essay on tradition and individual talent, writes, "The more perfect the artist, the more completely separate in him will be the man who suffers and the mind which creates. The more perfectly will the mind digest and transmute the passions which are its material." Millions of artists create. Only a few thousands are discussed or accepted by the spectator, and many less again are consecrated by posterity. In the last analysis, the artist may shout from all the rooftops that he is a genius. He will have to wait for the verdict of the spectator in order that his declarations take a social value, and that finally posterity includes him in the primers of artist history. I know that this statement will not meet with the approval of many artists who refuse this mediumistic role and insist on the validity of their awareness in the creative act. Yet, art history has consistently decided upon the virtues of a work of art through considerations completely divorced from the rationalized explanation of the artist. If the artist, as a human being, full of the best intentions toward himself and the whole world, plays no role at all in the judgment of his own work, how can one describe the phenomenon which prompts the spectator to react critically to the work of art? In other words, how does this reaction come about? This phenomenon is comparable to a transference from the artist to the spectator in the form of an aesthetic osmosis taking place through the inert matter, such as pigment, piano, or marble.
Yes, so essentially what he's saying is that art becomes important not by what the artist says about it, or even the artist's intention, the artist's conscious intention, but it's what other people think of it that defines it as an artwork. And here's an example of an artwork. It's a beautiful piece of music. It's the Moonlight Sonata by Beethoven, played on a 15-string harp guitar by musician Bryn Addison, while we think about Duchamp's words. This is guitarist Bryn Addison playing Beethoven's Piano Sonata number 14 in C-sharp minor, opus 27 number 2, known as Moonlight. And we were listening before to Marcel Duchamp, who said that the artist may shout from all the rooftops that he's a genius. He will have to wait for the verdict of the spectator in order that his declarations take a social value, and that finally posterity includes him in the primers of art history. So basically he was saying that art isn't the solitary act of the artist, it needs a spectator. But of course that's obvious, really. I mean, art is fundamentally a communication medium. It's neither the artist alone nor the spectator alone. It's both, essentially. It is communication. It lies somewhere between the artist and the communicator. And it will always take a different context depending on the group of artists or the group of creators and then the group of listeners. That's the essence of communication. But let's continue to listen to the second half of this essay by Duchamp, which was entitled The Creative Act, from 1957. Here again is Marcel Duchamp.
But before we go further, I want to clarify our understanding of the word art, to be sure, without any attempt at a definition. What I have in mind is that art may be bad, good, or indifferent, but whatever adjective is used, we must call it art. And bad art is still art, in the same way that a bad emotion is still an emotion. Therefore, when I refer to art coefficient, it will be understood that I refer not only to great art, but I am trying to describe the subjective mechanism which produce art in the raw state, à l'état brut, bad, good, or indifferent. In the creative act, the artist goes from intention to realization through a chain of totally subjective reactions. His struggle toward the realization is a series of efforts, pains, satisfaction, refusals, decisions, which also cannot and must not be fully self-conscious, at least on the aesthetic plane. The result of this struggle is a difference between the intention and its realization, a difference which the artist is not aware of. Consequently, in the chain of reactions accompanying the creative act, a link is missing. This gap, representing the inability of the artist to express fully his intention, this difference between what he intended to realize and did realize is the personal art coefficient contained in the work. In other words, the personal art coefficient is like an arithmetical relation between the unexpressed but intended and the unintentionally expressed. To avoid a misunderstanding, we must remember that this art coefficient is a personal expression of art à l'état brut, that is, still in a raw state, which must be refined as pure sugar from molasses by the spectator. The digit of this coefficient has no bearing whatsoever on his verdict. The creative act takes another aspect when the spectator experiences the phenomenon of transmutation. Through the change from inert matter into a work of art, an actual transubstantiation has taken place, and the role of the spectator is to determine the weight of the work on the aesthetic scale. All in all, the creative act is not performed by the artist alone. The spectator brings the work in contact with the external world by deciphering and interpreting its inner qualification, and thus adds his contribution to the creative act. This becomes even more obvious when posterity gives a final verdict and sometimes rehabilitates forgotten artists.
Or, in other words, communication itself is part of creation, which makes sense, really. You can't communicate to nobody and create something. For the full text of that, you can visit ubu.com and look up The Creative Act by Marcel Duchamp from 1957. I hope you found that a bit interesting. Now we'll have a bit of a break.
ArtsLab on RedShift Radio with Mark Sheeky. Creativity brought to life.
Rotary, helping people at home and abroad. We're for communities.
RedShiftRadio.co.uk.
Don't struggle around your home. Call Platform's Adaptations team today. Their team of specialist fitters are fully qualified to assess and adapt your home to meet your needs and benefit from the support of a fully qualified occupational therapist. From installing minor adaptations such as grab rails and ramps to fully installed wet rooms, the team can help you to remain independent in your home. Call Platform today on 0845 201 1145 or visit www.platformhomes.co.uk and enjoy independent living your way.
ArtsLab on RedShift Radio with Mark Sheeky. Creativity brought to life.
Oh, what a very deep and interesting programme we've had. Well, it gets even deeper and better because we're going to have Telly Savalas in a moment, and we'll also have some Marcel Duchamp's poetry later on. He was actually most famous as a chess player, which I didn't really know. Shows my level of ignorance. If you'd like to look up any previous Arts Labs, I will remind you that these are all available on Mixcloud.com on the Arts Lab playlist and the Redshift playlist. Bye-bye. Here is a box. Well, in the box we will find Telly Savalas. He recorded an album in 1974 which included his famous single, If. That was the only hit that he had as a music artist, the actor who played Kojak. But also on that album, which was almost all covers, there was one original song called Rubber Bands and Bits of String, and it's such a great song that's never been covered. It's never even been recorded properly. I don't think it was ever released on CD. It was only ever released on vinyl, and I recorded this myself this morning in high quality. So here it is, Rubber Bands and Bits of String by Telly Savalas.
She used to save the darndest things, rubber bands and bits of string. The kitchen drawers still overflow with birthday cards from long ago. This recipe for homemade pie she never had the nerve to try. I should throw them all away, but not today. Matchbooks from our favorite place, this China doll with a broken face, and pickle bottles filled with plants, the cuckoo clock we bought in France, the memories I'll never lose, 1,000 things I'll never use. I should throw them all away, but not today. In the bedroom, there's a touch of roses in the air, but when I turn to find her, she's never really there. It must have been the perfume, the one she used to wear. House and Garden magazines and these half-filled jars of jelly beans. Coney Island souvenirs, a music box that no one hears, umbrella broken in the hall, yes. This pillow from Niagara Falls, they should be thrown away, but not today. Of all the things I thought she'd take, the bride and groom from the wedding cake, but I guess she didn't really care. She left the man to sit and stare like me. They have no tears to cry, just dreams grown old and left to die. They should be thrown Flowers on the windowsill in a long-forgotten grocery bill. Seashells from the Jersey Shore. Teapot from an antique store. Photos of that New Year's Eve. Oh, love, how young we were.
Dance to the tune of a satanic fiddle, sinew and tendon plucked with pleasured zeal. That to be of use is to exist, to be real. Turn your cheek against the blindingly obvious. Protect a fractured sense of worth, feeling totally insignificant against the seductive mask of sincerity. Crushed, defenseless and hurt. Oh wow, amazing. One of the best Motown songs ever. Ends. 3 great artworks there. First, Rubber Bands and Bits of String by the great Telly Savalas. Then a poem from Ink Pantry by Elaine Snelson, which was called Soulless Puppet. The text is available now on inkpantry.com. And finally, the Rubber Band Man, the full 7 and a bit minute version by the Detroit Spinners.
RedShift Radio, bringing communities together.
And now, who's that sea I see on the horizon? Could it be something that heralds the yellow?
The Lone Ranger.
I thought it might be.
Hi-yo, Silver! A fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty hi-yo, Silver. The Lone Ranger. Hi-yo, Silver! Away! With his faithful Indian companion Tonto, the daring and resourceful masked rider of the plains led the fight for law and order in the early West. Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. The Lone Ranger rides again.
He certainly does, and our concept album of the moment is El Dorado by ELO, and here is the title track of that, track number 9, El Dorado. In a couple of weeks' time we'll be playing the full album, but for now, enjoy El Dorado. Oh wow, amazing. One of the best Motown songs ever. Ends. 3 great artworks there. First, Rubber Bands and Bits of String by the great Telly Savalas. Then a poem from Ink Pantry by Elaine Snelson, which was called Soulless Puppet. The text is available now on inkpantry.com. And finally, the Rubber Band Man, the full 7 and a bit minute version by the Detroit Spinners.
RedShift Radio, bringing communities together.
And now, who's that sea I see on the horizon? Could it be something that heralds the yellow?
The Lone Ranger.
I thought it might be.
Hi-yo, Silver! A fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty hi-yo, Silver. The Lone Ranger. Hi-yo, Silver! Away! With his faithful Indian companion Tonto, the daring and resourceful masked rider of the plains led the fight for law and order in the early West. Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. The Lone Ranger rides again.
He certainly does, and our concept album of the moment is El Dorado by ELO, and here is the title track of that, track number 9, El Dorado. In a couple of weeks' time we'll be playing the full album, but for now, enjoy El Dorado.
Here it comes, another lonely day, playing the game. I sail away on a voyage of no return to sea. If the turn of life is meant to be, and if I find the key to the eternal dream, the painted ladies of the Avalon, playing the sun. Take to the road, to lies, the place to close your eyes, and I will stay. I'm not leaving Eldorado. I will be free. Say goodbye, the city's heroes sing, but on the wing, feel so free. Oh, the life upon the rooftop plays, all the cheating and the broken days. So through it all I see, there's nothing left for me. So I will stay. Not be back, Eldorado. I will be sitting here on top of everywhere. What do I care? Days never end. All the voyages end will soon be here. Oh, eternal life is here for me. Oh, and now I found the key to the eternal dream, and I will I'll not be back, Eldorado. I will be
Say goodbye, the city's heroes sing, bird on the wing, feel so free through the life upon the rooftop haze, all the cheating and the broken days. So through it all I see there's nothing left for me, so I will stay, I'll not be back, Eldorado.
Step onto the property ladder in style with Wolven. Visit www.wolven.org.uk and check out our shared ownership schemes.
RedShiftRadio.co.uk.
Feeling less mobile these days? We all need a bit of extra help as we get older. At Able World, we have a wide range of products for the elderly and disabled at affordable prices. Items such as mobility scooters, riser recliner chairs and stair lifts can all assist you or your elderly relations. Find us in Nantwich, Crewe and online at ableworld.co.uk. Able World, your local mobility specialist. Call Able World on Nantwich 626 971.
ArtsLab on RedShift Radio with Mark Sheeky. Creativity brought to life.
Hello, this is Mark Sheeky. You're listening to RedShift Radio and ArtsLab. If you'd like to be a guest, just email artslab@redshiftradio.co.uk and it'll be great to see you. I've got a special guest next week who's a local author. More information on that next week. And now this amazing track. Yes, that was Yarmouth 5-0 by Splodgenus Abounds. And who now do I see coming through the door? Could it be Charlie from Casualty? I think it might be. Hello, Charlie. What was that? You'd like me to ask you a question? Yes, it's the Ask Charlie slot. Charlie, the normal price of a pair of shoes is £28. In a sale, the price is reduced by 35%. How much do the shoes cost in the sale?
RedShift Radio, bringing communities together.
We certainly are. Well, more from Charlie next week. Oh, and now it's the weather. Oh, and who do we see? We see Marcel Duchamp with a poem from 1931, playing White versus Daniel Noteboom. Will machine choose sand or desert? Probably sealed act, powdered applause, questions beyond rule, that temptation or blurred king. What is the massive bubble? Where is the staged temptation, this wish, each harmonious separation, isolatedly instructs beneath each spoon, which massive angle lives each night, keyed wish outside redundance, or instant mirrors cast, matter, or cast and slippery woman.